one of these business from the audience forms up front and hand it to Clerk Haley. We'll get to it later on in the meeting. Mayor's report.
Just a few things. Something that's not city related, but kind of interesting is I was able to attend a birthday party at Fairway Pines for May Tricano. She turned 104 years old, and she is still active. Her sight is kind of leaving, but she just finished writing a book on flower design. But it was kind of neat just to see somebody that survived a lot, and she's with it. So it's and physically and mentally. So it's kind of cool to see. I did attend a Memorial Day celebration at the Military Sea Service Museum. Nice little event. Wasn't quite as hot as what it had been. Kevin Roberts was a guest speaker, did a good job, and Fred Carino put it on, and along with John Cecil. So they do a good job out there. John Cecil actually is retiring, but he'll still be around for a year, and then he's moving up, I think, to Indiana is what he said. Just a little bit on HGTV. It's still active downtown, not quite as active as it was right after, but still people are milling around and coming from other areas. And I had the pleasure of meeting a Melody Pittman, who is a author and an influencer and travel writer at Casey Hart. Casey's working hard with that to get people, here and get some notoriety. So it's kind of still going on. So it's good for the city. And that's all I have.
All right. We're going to move on to council members' concerns, comments, and liaison reports. Mr. Carlisle.
Hey, the only report I have, Fred says we've had 12 inches of rain and we ain't closed.
That's good.
That's a good thing.
Let's go, Jax.
I've been able to do my orientation. So I've been to police, fire, public works, and golf in the last few days with Scott, and still have utilities and zoning. So that's been very enlightening. Also want to bring a CRA request of looking at how we can possibly do an open container around the circle in the future for businesses. I think 301 is kind of instigating it, of how we could possibly allow the circle area to be have an ordinance available that they can have a policy on how we can do open container. So just looking for some insight from council to see if we want to pursue that further of possible policy for that. That's all I got.
Mr. Bishop.
The only thing that I would wanted to bring up is I can't believe we're going into budget season. And after talking with staff today, I think we're faced with a pretty substantial deficit going into this budget season. We have liaison meetings starting at the end of this month. Wanted to see what everybody's temperature was to have a introductory workshop, so we all know what we're facing prior to going into liaison meetings. Because we typically go straight into liaison meetings without any real, overview of where we stand. And because it's pretty significant this year, I just thought it would be a good idea to have a 1-hour workshop prior to those.
I would love that. Is that something we could do like right after our next council meeting? Or does it need to be separate?
Or does it need to be sooner?
Okay.
I don't know.
So I think if
When's
I'm
the
not
first liaison meeting?
I'm not
24th?
mistaken, we've got a couple people who staff may be absent at our next council meeting.
Okay.
So we may need to do it either before then or just after then, maybe Thursday of that week.
Would you want department heads to be in attendance or just finance and admin?
I think everybody should be invited.
Okay.
And I'm away next week, all week, so I can't do next week.
As am I. So
So would Thursday the 19th be a doable
It's
date?
Juneteenth. Which
We're in the office.
I'm out, so
18th?
I'm out.
I don't know.
That whole week I'm out, so.
I'll
you
try
want to
I'll-
kick it around. If it works
Yeah.
out, great. If
Yep.
not, we've never done it before. So
Well,
I think it's
It's
a
good
great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good idea.
the intention is to prep us so
Right.
that we're not asking for the moon.
so
at
we
liaison
just don't
meetings.
go and rubber stamp and everything
Right.
without any real understanding of
Sure, the situation.
correct.
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
All right.
Let's see if
Does
we
it
can
have to be in the
see if we can come
evening?
up
You
with a
can't
date.
do it during the day?
Could do it.
I would almost prefer it to be during the day
Yeah,
Me too, honestly.
for scheduling.
yeah.
Josh has 2 kids now. He gets it.
Yeah.
Josh has to get. Do it during the day.
We'll work on the date.
Okay.
I'm
Right.
open.
Yep.
Pretty much at any.
I think that's a great idea. And then I think going back to Rebecca, what you're saying too with the open container, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if we can, should we just instruct staff to look at ordinances and start developing that and see what they can bring to the table? And go from there.
Are you talking about 100% or we have it during events?
I think just putting days and maybe like Thursday
Days
through
and
Saturday,
times
Thursday through
to-
Saturday.
To the circle, and how far
So,
out?
yeah,
So
how far out?
And with some restrictions,
With-
the idea would only be for alcohol sold by the establishments in that zone.
With a specific cup potentially or
Right.
something like
So you
that.
can't
Yeah.
roll up to Circle Park with a cooler.
Do we
Correct.
do we know if other municipalities have done something similar?
Yes, I'm sorry, I forget that. Jacksonville has one, and then Georgia. There's 2. That
What was the second one?
Georgia, just I think the state.
The whole state.
Yeah, it just said
Yeah,
Georgia.
you can do it in Savannah.
I think it
Yeah, if
should
you
just be
restrict it,
Circle
so.
Park
Hmm.
if we're gonna do it.
Yeah, you might
The
want to go down
circle.
the spokes of
Wall-
you
Wall
might wanna
Street.
Go down the spokes a little bit. Just
So
Wall,
Wall
Street.
Street.
Wall Street.
Yeah.
Maybe to Wall Street.
right. Okay.
Some restaurants have rear access, just
Yeah.
Right.
so there's no gray area.
Yeah. Okay. Anything
So
else?
you like talking like Friday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday or something like that?
I think it's probably the details that we need to work out before we get to some sort of motion.
Rebecca, is that something that you'll continue to work with CRA and figure out what they're looking for and what we can work together on?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
How much time do you think we'll need? Is that going to be some council meeting in 2 weeks, next month, next quarter? What do you
Probably
think?
not 2 weeks because I'm not here next week, so
Yeah.
I probably need a little longer than that. So
Okay.
I would say probably two meetings out.
Okay.
Possible.
No report.
Okay. I guess the only report I had is thank you for filling in for me. My wife had the baby. Everybody's healthy and happy and tired and doing good and life goes on. All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Are there any council questions, comments, or concerns about the consent agenda or anything that anyone would like to pull off? All right, seeing none, is there
I
any?
make a motion, we accept consent agenda.
Second.
Yeah, can you call the roll, please?
Bishop,
Yes.
Cornell,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes. All right, there is no old business. Moving on to new business. Agenda item 10A, Grace in the Park. Presenter is Mr. Etienne Doucette. Okay, come on up and state your name for us, please.
I'm Chelsea Alcorn, the Director of Administration at Grace Bible Church.
Good evening.
So can you tell us a little bit about the event then?
Yeah, so the event is basically a community event. We realized that we haven't been engaged with the community ever since COVID due to the restrictions of being person to person. And we wanted a way to give back to our community, so what we were thinking is hosting lots of families together with bounce houses, live music, free food, and possibly free haircuts for kids that are going back to school that may not necessarily have the money to be able to get a haircut. We're looking at possibly up to about 500 to 1,000 people, just depending on how the word gets out, really. That's about it. Nothing strenuous, no fire, no fireworks, no nothing like that. Just something simple, some like almost backyard picnic with your families out and about.
You know when soccer starts?
That's gonna be my question. Are there any? Okay. All of them, the softball fields as well? Okay, great. So no parking issues that you can foresee? Okay. Any questions or comments from council?
I think it's a great idea. Thank you for doing it.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the event as presented, condition upon providing appropriate insurance certificate showing at least $1 million of liability insurance and name the city as additional insurer at least 10 days prior to the event.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, can you call the roll, please?
Bishop,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Colchester,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Okay, we are now going to move on to business from the audience. We have one tonight, Miss Verna Flexen, to speak with us about the municipal golf course.
Just gonna read this because y'all make me nervous.
Good evening.
On March 18th, 2025, when Robert Blackman presented his request for the municipal golf course and restaurant properties, I was surprised that he behaved as if the transaction was a foregone conclusion, as I believe this was the first time it had been made public. Mr. Blackman has repeatedly stated that his discussions about disposition of the property took place in April of 2022, 4 months in advance of the sale of Harder Hall. He asserted that these discussions resulted in city officials assuring him that this deal would not be a problem. When the two properties that comprised the Harder Hall Executive Golf Course were sold in 2021 and 2022, the price paid for a non-functioning golf course in need of complete renovation was a total of $2,225,000. I believe that the gifting of a functioning golf course and thriving restaurant is far too generous on the part of our city. I further don't understand why, if there was an agreement on board for this exchange in 2022, the city continued to expend considerable funds for improvements to the golf course, despite plans to give it away. While I certainly appreciate the work the Blackmans and their corporate interests are doing on Harder Hall, I believe Mr. Blackman's assertions that he has asked for nothing in return are not quite accurate. What is essentially a gift of a functioning golf course and locally valued restaurant is not only a large ask, it's also a disservice to the residents of the city and county we live in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. City Attorney's business, item 12A.
Item 12A is proposed ordinance number 1545. It's entitled an ordinance of the City of Sebring, Florida, amending the City of Sebring Police Officers Retirement Trust Fund, adopted pursuant to ordinance number 1004 as subsequently amended, amending section 29, reemployment after retirement, providing for codification, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This is on council's agenda for second and final reading.
Any questions or comments on this from council? Any questions or comments from the audience? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance number 1545 on second and final reading as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, can you call the roll, please?
Bishop,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Colchester,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes. All right, so moving on to item 13A, city administrator business. Fire
evening,
assessment
council.
rates.
Agenda item 13A is fire assessment rates for this upcoming fiscal year. We're at that period of time that we get to each year where you all get to set the preliminary rates, if you will. These are rates that I believe you can't go above, if you will. And staff seeking your guidance on what rates that you would like to implement next year. We will receive, I think it'll be at the June 17th meeting, a preliminary rate resolution from the consulting group that performs our fire assessment. If you'll take a look at the last page, it'll show you what our rates currently are, fiscal year 24-25 adopted rates. That's at the 29.3% level of 100% funding of the fire department budget as it was implemented at that when we initially did the rates originally. And you are only able to go to a 35.5% rate without re-noticing the entire customer base. So you could achieve 35.5% of their budget if you chose to do so tonight. At the 29.3% rate, residential is 165 per parcel. Commercial is 7 cents a square foot. Industrial warehouse is 3 cents a square foot. Institutional is 9 cents a square foot. Nursing home is $1.17 a square foot, and vacant land is $24 a square foot.
Scott, could you put that chart up?
Sure. Absolutely. So as you'll notice, the way they set this chart up, the percentages correspond to a $5 increase in residential. So at 170, it's at 30.2%. You'll notice commercial goes up, or actually stays the same at 7 cents a square foot. The industrial warehouse is 3 cents a square foot. Again, institutional goes up by a penny to 10 cents a square foot, and nursing homes go up to $1.21 a square foot, and vacant land goes up by $1. And then there are corresponding either increases or they stay the same. As you'll notice, commercial or industrial doesn't change at all the way up to the max. And then commercial changes by, it doesn't change until you get to the max. So it's still 8 cents. Actually, I'm incorrect. 7 cents a square foot at 30.2%, then it moves to 8 cents a square foot at 31.1%, and then 9 cents at 35.5%. Obviously, at the very bottom is the estimated net revenue that we would receive based upon those rates.
Okay. What are you guys thinking?
I think we had a pretty big jump last year.
We did.
I'm not looking at banking that kind of a jump this year, but I would lean more like on the 33.8%. Not going all the way to the max, but still making a pretty good increase.
What percentage of our total budget is comprised of fire?
Of the general revenue you're asking?
Yeah.
I'll ask Jared to come up and provide that info.
And what I'm getting at is how much are we relying on the millage or ad valorem to pay for fire?
Right.
70% of the cost.
Right.
Jared Lee, Budgeting Grants Coordinator. Your ad valorem doesn't even pay for police. Just the easiest way to put that is if you look at police first, ad valorem's gone.
What about fire?
So give me
There
a
are
second.
other revenue sources, obviously.
I mean, yeah,
Right.
we have a lot of different revenue sources, a pretty substantial variety of them.
I'm
Ad
just-
valorem is looking to go up
Yeah.
higher than what I was expecting based off of our initial estimates from the property appraiser's office, but nowhere near what we would need.
But what I'm saying, I'm just looking at the fire assessment rate and where that should land, so we're not eating away ad valorem taxes from other departments to fund fire when we have a guaranteed way to fund fire.
Personally, my leaning is, this fire assessment is to pay for fire.
Right,
I'd rather
that's what
cap,
I'm-
I'd rather cap it out and
Have some relief on
correct
the other
on
side.
millage, right? If that's ever possible, but
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
well,
up
the probably the best part about this is everybody
That's
pays it.
what
And
this-
ad valorem,
well, and no matter what state legislature does regarding homestead or those kinds of things,
Right.
it doesn't hit it
So I'm saying
35.
get our guaranteed fire money this way, and maybe get a little bit of relief on the other side from. I don't know.
I'm in favor.
That's up to,
I'm in
So
favor of that.
part of
The
this
number
too, you
crunchers
have to
here.
remember is you're not ever going to be able to recoup 100% of your fire costs.
No.
anymore
Right.
because of ALS.
yeah, of course.
So you can get a substantial percentage of it, but you will have to still take a portion of it out of general fund.
Well, we're a long way from that anyway at this point.
At this point, yes, absolutely.
And as you also know, there's a government buy down. Right.
What do you have, Penny?
We're asking about the percent of the budget. So the fire accounts for 28% of the general fund budget. Which last year was $5.3 million.
Well, I'd be in favor of maxing it on this 35 and a half. 'Cause again, it's all coming from somewhere, and I would rather to Leonard's point, do it on a non ad valorem assessment.
Yeah,
rather than
everybody
millage.
pays this,
Right.
but on ad valorem,
Right. It varies.
we're all
wildly.
judged different.
Right.
Scott, explain so everybody understands what the government buy down is, since it's up there.
So the government buy down is we don't charge government properties because we cannot lien properties, government properties. So in theory, even if we sent them a bill, they could just say, we're not paying. Doesn't mean you couldn't go down that path, but they are likely not to pay it, but up to this point, I guess they haven't been doing it to us for any properties.
Right.
I don't really want to get in a fight with other local governments. Okay.
I mean, is my angle
I agree.
making
with
sense at all, or
it does
am
too.
I just out in left field?
No, I agree.
I don't think none of us want to hit people, but we have a budget. You know, we have to meet. We got people to pay. We got to get it somewhere. And if you look at it, it's really not that big a jump.
$35 a year.
Listen, my office is in the county. You want to talk about a jump? Theirs was a very substantial one.
They're trying to get 100%, aren't they?
And it feels like they're on the way. But so I really don't think that that's an unreasonable to jump to the 35% funding level for this. And to your point, if we ever get to the point where we're not in some sort of a deficit, we can reduce it from the millage.
Right.
And let the fire assessment pay for fire.
Correct.
As much as possible.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Are you guys in agreement?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion by council? Anything from the audience?
Well, the thing about it, if you live in the city, which most of us, we all do, we're gonna pay it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have a follow-up question. So if we're gonna propose 35.5%, I think the conversation that we're going to get from the consultant then is, do you all want to perform another analysis next year
Yes.
and or notice property owners, right?
Don't we have to regardless? Because now we're doing ALS?
I didn't get the impression, Penny, you correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't get the impression they indicated that we needed to do that.
But now you're at the top, you
Well,
really need to have it.
What it would mean is next year, going further. That's,
No, we need to,
reason I'm
we're
not-
starting over from scratch here.
Mhm.
Got to take another bite out of it. You know?
so I'll have a conversation with them and find out whether or not, one, we need to perform another study for the entire algorithm, or whether we can just renotice property owners with this particular algorithm rate structure. And then come back to you and ask the question as to whether or not, and obviously they're probably going to submit a proposal. What it would cost to do.
Do you Need a motion on this, Scott, or just guidance?
It just needs a direction.
I think it just,
You do need
I do a motion.
Yes, he's got to send something up to the,
Yes.
I move that we set the preliminary fire assessment rate to the maximum 35.5% rate and put in a request to staff to order a new study for next year.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, can we call the roll, please?
Bishop,
Yes.
Carl,
yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Colchester,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 13B, project report. Mr. Naylor.
Only updates I have for the progress report is we were supposed to close on the Macbeth property today, but apparently we had an updated closing number, so we were shy about $191. So we're going to do that tomorrow. So it should close tomorrow. And I believe the money for the SunTrust property is going to get wired tomorrow, and closing is set for Thursday.
Great. Any questions or comments? Okay. We will move on. Last but not least, Clerk Haley, item 14A.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's call the roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Colchester,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes. We are adjourned.
Hey, you.
Yeah. Yeah.